Good evening, everyone. Gonzo in the live chat. Stephen Fuller says, "What a result! Didn't realise this was on tonight. He's just sat down with a cuppa and a giant dairy milk. It's Stephen's lucky night."
I wondered what he was going to say then. A giant dairy milk. I prefer the whole nut myself, Stephen, but a dairy milk will do. I wonder what he was going to watch instead.
I don't know. We've just thrown a dilemma, and possibly the Denmark game.
Oh, I forgot about that. Is Rice starting?
Yeah,
I heard they were going to start.
Yeah, he's starting them both in the centre midfield. Anyway, bonus cup of tea edition. It's your questions. We didn't get to them all last night. We feel guilty. We actually have some feelings, me and Gonzo, sometimes. We do actually feel a little bit guilty. So we've decided we're going to do an extra edition with your questions. So are you ready to get straight into it, Mr. Gonzo?
Yes, indeed, sir.
Right,
yes,
kicking
indeed.
it off, we've got Mark Chelmo on Twitter at Mark Chelmo. Mark says, or Marquis says, now I'm very much on board with Chris and his view on Souček, which brings me to the question. Do you think it's wise internationals be played at the moment as we've now lost a key player for our opening fixture? Well, as it stands, we don't know if Souček is going to miss Newcastle or not. Pretty much the whole Czech Republican team are in quarantine. They had 9 of their starting 11 against Scotland last night were making their debut. That's how bad it is. They must sue.
What was the score?
2-1 Scotland.
Just.
Yeah, just. But internationals at the minute. Obviously, Declan's playing as well. Are you a fan of them, or do you think this is just a bit too much?
I think given look, internationals are fine. I was never a fan of the internationals at the start of the season anyway, because it always used to be that you'd just get into the rhythm, you'd have 3 or 4 games, and you'd suddenly stop, wouldn't you? And then you'd have the internationals, and it just felt weird. And I think it always was traditionally a 2-week break, but there were only sort of 2 games. They'd have a week's training camp, and then they'd have one on the Saturday and one on the Tuesday, which I guess is what's happening now. And you'd sort of. It was weird because you'd had your whole fix. You'd had all your whole fix of football in the season. It ends. Then you're desperate for a bit of football in the close season. Football starts up again. I got my fix, and then they take it away. Naughty of them. But I do understand that they've got to fulfil these fixtures. But I just think, given the context of now, bearing in mind what has happened, it is only the League of Nations. Basically, it's glorified friendlies. I know they've tried to make it important by giving it a name, whatever, the League of Nations or whatever. But they could have done without it. But, bearing in mind just everything, the travel, the COVID, and the fact that everybody is having to go through these checks. The fact that some countries have different quarantine procedures. Some of the countries are blacklisted in essence, aren't they? You can't go on holiday somewhere and say... Just a little bit of common sense from FIFA or UEFA, whoever's decided, just say, do you know what, we'll just leave the old League of Nations for the moment. We'll still do the qualifiers later on in the year, but let's just let domestic football get back and going. That's what I would have liked to have
said.
said.
I think it was a bit unnecessary as well. I think it's just complicated. It's difficult enough getting domestic league up and running as it is in other countries without complicated matters. I think it's just done that. There's a slight advantage for clubs like West Ham where you don't have that many players away on international duty, so other clubs well, Liverpool's at a disadvantage, aren't they, when half their squad's away with international and stuff. I mean, how are you supposed to plan for the weekend? I don't know, because it's still technically pre-season for them. Moyes might be glad that Declan's got a game because he missed our friendlies, Declan.
Yeah.
So Moyes might be thinking, well, at least he's getting some game time. But he's potentially going to play 180 minutes in 3 days after not playing all summers. And then can you then go play 90 minutes on Saturday? It'd be a bit of a little worry. I agree with you. I think it could have been avoided this time round. Ibby says, do you think GSB could be close to selling or considering selling?
Do you know what I'll do? I'll give a little. I think I burnt my bridges anyway, so I'll give a little exclusive now. Right, I emailed David Sullivan, and sometimes he answers emails, and he very much said that he's not speaking. He feels he's not speaking to anybody. I very much felt like I was getting a standard letter, basically, if you want, that had gone out to everybody. I checked with a couple of other people, and it seems to be the way. He's not speaking to anybody for 6 months. Okay. Now, first of all, I wasn't that bothered because, to be fair, it doesn't really matter, or it doesn't. It's not ever much of an exclusive.
So your exclusive is someone's not speaking to you.
I have nothing to say. Exclusive is there's no news. Hey, I'll tell you what, you heard it here first, folks. Yeah, I'm not exactly ex-employee, am I? I've got no news at all. No. No, I hadn't actually messaged him for a story. I actually messaged him because I was annoyed to say, you do know that we need some fullbacks, don't you? And that was my... and I got what I felt was a generic email back saying, I'm not going to answer any questions. Blah, 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 I won't be dealing with anybody. I won't be answering. I'll review it in 6 months. Now, the most frightening thing about that was not the rejection and not him not answering my question about the fullbacks. It was the indication that he might be around in 6 months to review his stance on answering emails. And so in answer to the question there, I didn't think so much after I got there. I thought, oh my goodness, I don't think those are not the words of someone that's close to selling, you know?
I don't think he'll go till 23. I don't think they'll go. I know it's a small amount of money in the grand scheme of things, but we're still talking tens of millions they've got to concede, so I don't see why they would give that much money up. I understand why they wouldn't, to be honest with you. But like I said last night, and made a cup of tea, I don't think they believe they're doing a bad job. I think they think they're doing all right. So I think they're probably thinking, why would we leave? What's the problem here? I don't think they're going anywhere yet. Dan Hunter, if we lose badly to Newcastle, what do you think happens? Apart from being bottom of the table, obviously. That game's moved. Did you see that? It's moved now. It's
8 o'clock,
yeah, Newcastle's now Saturday at 8 o'clock. Arsenal's been moved. Wolves is going to move because now all the games in September are live on TV. There's been a deal struck.
That's the point. I've got a shameless thing to say now. Andy Walsh, listen, I've not got the old Twitter thing at the moment. You ain't still got those Now TV codes, have you, please, mate? That is a bit shameless, isn't it?
He messaged me last night asking if you delete your Twitter, but I didn't reply to him.
Give Andy my phone number, would you please, mate? He's a good guy. Because so it's on Sky, isn't it? And I was thinking, oh, hold on, I might need to, do a little tweak and watch that one. So yeah, moved to 8 o'clock, which is, in all honesty, I've got a double match. My daughter and my son, their season. My daughter started last weekend. My son's had a friendly, but they've both got a proper league game on Saturday in the day, so it means I can go to both their matches, so it sort of works out for me. But very late notice to shift it, isn't it?
For who? The fans aren't going, are they? So,
well, I guess poor old Russ in the DJ box. I guess he probably had other plans. Probably done a video.
Anyway, what happens if we lose badly to Newcastle? That was the question.
More anger, more frustration, and trepidation because we'll be looking at the rest of the fixtures coming up thinking, oh my goodness.
The worst thing is Newcastle have gone and done business this week, so they've just signed Jamal Lewis tonight as well. That's now confirmed. They also got Wilson and Fraser in yesterday. I think the worst thing is if they win, there's a good chance at least one of those players has had a good game. And that's another stick to beat the board with, which is, look what happens when you go get players in. It impacts games. Imagine that. Because the reason they've been sort of rushing these through is Steve Bruce has unofficially said that Newcastle, and those of you have said that they're trying to rush these deals through so they are in the squad to face West Ham. So I fully expect Jamal Lewis and Callum Wilson both to be starting. Maybe not Fraser because he's got Almiron and St Maximum there, so that'll be sufficient. But I think he'll start those two. If we lose badly, what happens? I just think it'll just be more anger in the next fixtures. It gets a bit more difficult. Neil from Down Under, when fans can return to watch games live at London Stadium, do you think people will be turned away waving GSB out t-shirts?
Well, we've seen people turned away with flags and stuff like that before, haven't we? So would one bit of material be different to another? I think they've got more checks in place as well, so there's more. You're going to be less prepared and less. What's the word I'm looking for? There's going to be less opportunity to do something sneaky. You sneak a flag out, stick it down your trousers. So I'm just pleased to see you and all the rest of it.
When you're in the ground, you're probably going to be sitting one every 3 seats or something. So it's going to be very easy to identify you.
You're absolutely right, yeah.
There's not like a cluster of fans. Who was it?
Yeah, seat number 154, row 20. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's only one guy on his own there. They're going to know it's you. But also, I think what's even riskier now is we're getting told that part of the checks that they're bringing in includes facial recognition, which is even worse now, isn't it? Because if it can recognise your face, it's going to recognise you've got a T-shirt on that's GSP out. It's going to match your actual face to the T-shirts now. It's not something. It's not something that sits well with me, to be honest. I don't like the idea of facial recognition. I think it's a bit intrusive. So I do think with this now extra layer of security, I think the club will be comfortable actually if you turn up with a T-shirt like that on. They'll find out who you are.
The machine's very interesting that they got at a training ground, which you got to walk up to the thing, and you put your face right near it, and it tests your temperature, which is an amazing bit of kit. The idea is apparently they're gonna roll those out around the stadium, and now we can't organise a piss up in a brewery. I can't imagine that we'd get all these machines all around, because I'll tell you what they look like if you haven't seen one. You know, when you're going to have your passport photo done, you sit in a booth. They look like that, basically, and you've got the thing that takes your picture, and you've got the bit that you walk through, which is like a metal detector. It's quite, you're going to really struggle to get anything in anywhere, including yourself.
Yeah, it sprays you as well. For those that don't know, there's an article in the Mirror that says West Ham are trying to move ahead of the rest of the clubs in the Premier League by introducing this sort of safety precaution for fans returning, which includes facial recognition, temperature check, and getting sprayed with a non-alcoholic disinfectant, I guess. Sounds well fun, doesn't it? When we go to the
as long as they make it nicely sensitive.
Nothing to get you up for the match, quite like all those tracks.
Some guys have a rubber glove, just saying, excuse me.
David Moyes.
You got a flag or a t-shirt, GSP t-shirt.
Mikey John says, hate to ask this, would you take 16th place now? He's really worried about the new season, feels we are likely to struggle, so regrettably he would.
Yeah, now I would, but if we drew against Newcastle, then we had bought 2 fullbacks, and I felt there's a bit of momentum, I wouldn't.
Okay, that's fair. I would take it now.
But now, yes, now I would.
How are you worried about the transfer window? This is my question. Are you worried about it? We sort of touched on it last night, but not as black and white as this. Because remember Sam London, West Ham London on Twitter used to say to us every week, how worried are you about the transfer window on a scale of 1 to 10?
Oh, yes, right.
I think it's time to bring back Sam's question.
Yeah, well, you'd have to be, a 10 at the moment. I am worried for a lot of the reasons we discussed last night, Geo. It's not just the fact we haven't brought anyone in, the fact that everybody else is signing people, and also the positions that we seem to be targeting. It just seems to be a mess. I would love, and I mean this, I would love to think that there was a plan. That actually there was a plan, and we were quite far down the road in negotiations with certain players, and we were actually going to cover all the positions that we're concerned about. I would love to think that, but I don't believe it. I don't think they've got a clue, and that's my worry.
Yeah, the latest news is, for anyone tuning in, that our latest bid, our second bid for Tarkowski has been rejected, which was around about the 27 million mark, but Leicester are also seriously wanting him as well. We'll wait and see. We're pissing around with that anyway. Josh Wilkie says, what do you think West Ham would look like today had Magnuson and the Icelandics still been in charge? I think we'd still be Upton Park, that's the first thing I think. I don't think we would have moved ground. I think he would have stayed.
Well, they turned it down.
Yeah,
this is really important to remember here. This is really, really important. This is key. When we won the rights to the Olympics, and I'll tell you when it was the day before the bomb went off in London, because I remember it being a very, very happy place, and I'll never forget it, because when we were up there, we were up fitting a boiler, and we were up in Maida Vale, and we thought the boiler had exploded when the bomb went. That's how far-reaching the explosion was, when all the bombs went off, all the terrorism and that. But that's what I remember, and basically, so the Olympic Committee had put bids in, and West Ham were approached eventually and said, look, do you want to pay into this stadium, and after the Olympics finished, and then basically what we can do is we can make it prefabricated, so as when we take it apart it's like a football stadium. And we said no, we're not interested. So the Icelandics absolutely turned that opportunity down. So you are 100% right there. What would we be doing? I don't know. I mean, I don't remember it being completely great. I remember wasting a lot of money on Freddie Ljungberg. I remember wasting a lot of money on Kieran Dyer. I remember, was it Scott Duxbury? That was the fella's name, wasn't it? I remember he wasn't particularly clever either. So a fool and his money are easily parted. I don't think they were particularly shrewd. They brought Kirbishley in. I just thought it was all...
a more enthusiastic version of Sullivan in gold.
Yeah, with a scarf. It was. No, I don't know. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. And or it would be. I think it might be better, but perhaps not what we not the field of dreams that we might have hoped for.
I think it would have been more fun. I do think it would have been more fun. I think they would eventually maybe have learned a little bit. I think they might have thrown money at the right people eventually, which is people off the pitch. I think they might have decided, let's get, like, they had Duxbury there, they had someone there off the pitch. I think they might have realised maybe this guy wasn't all up to scratch. Let's get someone else in to replace him and start chucking our money around. I don't know. It's a very difficult question to answer, but I certainly think there would have been a fun element to it as well. Chris says, how can the team possibly get out of the low morale and hatred for GSB within a week to beat Newcastle? Do you think the players are bothered at the minute?
Yes. Yeah, I do, because I do think there's. I think it's hard to isolate yourself from that, and we've already seen how many of them are on social media. You can't say, oh, look how many have endorsed Mark Noble's tweet, and then say they're not influenced by social media. Clearly, they're on it. If they're on it, I bet most of those players have got secret accounts, where from their main accounts they won't go and like something that you might tweet, for instance, Geo. But you would have to have a look.
I tweet comedy gold sometimes.
Of course you do, but not everybody appreciates comedy gold, and they want when they see. I don't know if you've tweeted today about anything about Icelandic hookers and David Moyes pulling players off, but you would understand why a West Ham player might not like that tweet.
There was a tweet that David Moyes, Southend are playing West Ham under 21s tonight, and the reporter that was there said David Moyes was in the crowd, so I quoted it and said he's looking at who we're going to sell next.
Okay.
Comedy gold.
Well, I like that. That's very good. But you couldn't like
do you
that.
Think
well,
they,
maybe
do you
Mark
think,
Noble
do you think they liked it on their fake account?
Yes.
I'm going to check now.
So I think they'll have a fake account because...
I'm going to check who liked it now.
Well, what are they going to say? Irons Forever or something like that. Hammer 66. They'll be called something like that, maybe. Maybe they troll. Maybe they troll people back and say, maybe Mark Noble's secret account. He goes back and says, hold on, I think Mark Noble's a really good player, you twat, and stuff like that. So anyway, what are we talking about?
Are the players impacted by this?
I think so, and then obviously, I do. I think on the training ground and everything. I think my larger point was I think they're aware that the fan base is unhappy, and that can't make it a good place to work. I think they're probably aware that the manager's possibly undermined, and they're probably very, very aware that people that pay their wages are not very popular. So, I think that would have to have an impact. So, if it was a factory and you knew everything was going on with the directors and the hierarchy and upper management, you'd be talking about it on the shop floor, so to speak. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think also Sebastian Allier in particular, who comes out publicly and says, I'm really looking forward to playing with this guy, he's going to get me assists, then we sell him. He's probably standing there thinking, what's going on here? Have I said something?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is my fault.
If you're going to play Masuaku, just keep doing step overs then doing nothing. He's not going to cross the ball to me, is he?
Masuaku's wonderful. Can't wait to play with him on fake account. Sam Naller.
I hope the manager pulls Masuaku
on. Brilliant. And then Chris asks, how much fan unrest will there need to be before the owners decide enough is enough? Is there such a thing? Is there enough? Do you know what I mean? Could there be enough fan unrest that we actually force them out?
Okay, we can't generate enough at the moment. The thing that we desperately need at the moment, because nobody's in there, is media exposure, really. And despite the 8,000 marching before, protesting, peaceful protesting, I didn't feel there was enough photographs of it. I didn't feel, every photograph you saw, you thought, actually, that's not reflective of how it was. It was massive. I would have liked the Sky TV to have a helicopter up there and be filming it and that. And until we get that, it's going to be really, really hard, because only at that point, I think will a lot of the press start asking the really, really tough questions on it. And whilst we can't whilst we're not at the stadium, we can't put the pressure on the owners. I've said it numerous times. I think Sullivan looks really happy in that empty stadium.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think COVID-19, while they blame all this financial thing on COVID-19, I think really they're bloody happy for COVID-19 because it's keeping people away. And I think that's possibly why they're happy to dither in the transfer market a little bit. I think they might get a surprise when they turn up at the Newcastle game, doing there's fans outside the gate waiting for them. I think they're maybe in for a bit of a shock on Saturday, actually, the board. But I think they think they're going to turn up and there's going to be no one there.
No, but the other thing, that stadium, you've been there, you've been on that tour, that stadium's cavernous. Don't forget there is a road in and under that stadium as well. There are several ways into that stadium. If they really want to, they can get themselves into that place without too much trouble. It's not up to
They're too naive, stubborn and stupid, Gonzo. They'll take the normal route in and then get a shock when everybody's standing there telling them to get out of the club. James Gunn's put a fiver in. James, please, you...
Bless him. He did that
that's one way to say, James, stop that. You did it yesterday as well. We appreciate the first one, I'm not going to lie. It pays for the biscuits, but more than once is unnecessary. Give it to West Ham. They need the transfer kit. Why are our owners only capable of working on one transfer at a time? Usulos got Fabianski, Diop and Yarmolenko within 1 week.
Oh, I mean, I'd love to have an answer. I really would. It was weird because we were decisive in January. Old Dither and Dave was decisive, Dave, in January. Souček, Bowen, really quick. Got it done.
Bowen was on transfer deadline day.
Well, he got it done. He hadn't
in the last minute. He was half an hour before the window shut.
That is true. But but you know what I'm saying. He hadn't been in the door long.
But my counter argument would be, had you got that done at the start of January, you might have picked up more points in January.
No, I don't disagree with that. I'm not going to... Yeah, of course, if we'd have had him ready from games before, Bowen's an excellent player. I don't doubt that. I'm just saying we seem to be able... We weren't stagnating then. We seem to be moving and going for players. That doesn't seem to be happening now. So, do we blame it on personnel? I can't, because the same personnel are surely there to get Souček deal done and to get Bowen deal done. Yeah, so if the personnel are the same, and we know those personnel can get transfer deals done, you have to start looking at the will and the desire to do so. So maybe it's got nothing to do with Husilos and that at this particular moment. Perhaps it is just a desire. And I do think the longer it goes on, the less likely we are to be attractive to clubs and players to do business with, as I said yesterday.
This is what worries me, though. We start on Saturday. I know the transfer window's open a bit longer, but you can be 6 games in before you make your signings, and that's just... It's dangerous. That's why I quite like the window shutting before the season kicked off, actually. I quite liked that. And I felt it benefited the smaller clubs, the lesser clubs in the Premier League, actually. I think the top 6 are the ones that can probably cope better. There's nothing stopping Chelsea rocking up in the 11th hour with a massive, great, big £70 million bid for Declan Rice, and all of a sudden we're up against the wall, 6 games in, not many points on the board, our best player now wants out and stuff. That's why I don't like it. This transfer deadline overlapping the season starting allows clubs to disrupt other clubs' seasons so far. I know you're only 6-7 games in, but it still disrupts it. It's still enough to really impact a team's season, particularly if you're going to take their best player. Can you imagine we done it to Stoke with Marko Arnautovic? 6-7 games into the season, we went to Stoke and then Marco handed in his transfer request and came to us and stuff. It's enough to throw Stoke's whole season out. I really don't like it at all. I think it should be... I get why it's a long window this summer because of the situation we're in, but there's no reason that window should have opened. As soon as that final whistle went in the Premier League, that window should have opened and it should have shut this Friday and said, look, if it's only 5 weeks long, it's only 5 weeks long. I don't care. We're sticking with it. We're not the only club in this situation, but there's a reason Everton, Sheffield United and Newcastle have all made 3 signings. You know, Everton have signed Rodriguez, Decore today. I mean, Alan, yeah, or you call him James Rodriguez.
We're going to miss him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, James Rodriguez, yeah. Absolutely.
Anyway, Jazz, a question for Gonzo. What colour is Geo's transfer rumour notebook? I've got it here for you, actually. Let me just flick. What colour is it?
Does everybody else know? Oh, sorry. Yeah. He's got his... Oh, did he use... That's not a new notebook. You've been using that anyway for your videos.
Yeah, but I use it for everything. But this is why I refer to my transfer rumour notebook.
Yeah, you've been using... As I'm saying, you use that in your videos. I thought you might have had you could have got a yellow one, really. We had a new one just for now. What colour is it? Are you taking a mickey or
No,
what?
it's genuine. It's a genuine question.
It's pink.
Yeah, thank you. Jazza thinks it's red. It's pink. I can assure you if it was red, I would tell you it's red. It's better for me for it to be red.
I thought it was a guessing game. I had to...
No, he insists it's red. We've had discussions about this, me and Jazza.
It's pink.
Alex Bay, do you think there's too much pressure now put on Bowen to perform? He thinks if he gets injured, he doesn't see where our service and goals come from. Yes,
but I think he's got the shoulders to carry that burden. I just hope his knees and his ankles and his metatarsal are as strong as his shoulders. If he pops a shoulder now, it's my fault basically. This is a man with a lot of mental fortitude. I think he's probably the type of guy that probably thrives under pressure. You only got to look at how Hull capitulated there after he left. A fantastic player. A lot of pressure on him, but I think he'll deliver. Some people thrive under pressure. Some shrink, wither, and shrink some more.
Yeah, I think my worry is we've seen a couple of games. I can't remember who we're playing now. Man United. We played Man United. Brandon Williams. They were really having a ding dong during the game, but Brandon Williams showed if you kick him about a little bit, you take him out of the game as well, and I think he has got kicked about post-lockdown. I felt Bowen was getting fouled a lot. Someone went in on him really nasty. It was a big team we were playing. Who went in? Come to me. It might have been Tarkowski. Was it Tarkowski? I think it was Tarkowski.
No, I think you're right actually, because in the review I mentioned that Burnley had fouled Manzini in the previous
I think it was Tarkowski. I think he studded him like just above the knee as well.
You're right.
I don't want this guy anymore. Get
out of it.
Disgusting.
Pay 27 quid for it.
Disgusting. It was James Tarkowski. He really went in on him, and you could see Bowen go down. You could see him get up to his on his feet, and you could see him wincing, and I thought, and I just think that this is going to be something we see frequently this season. Actually, people will soon realise you stop Bowen, you perhaps stop West Ham a little bit, and I think he's going to get battered down that side. Last couple of more questions. Hammer 1999. Do you know anything about Longello, the academy left back? If so, is he cut out for the Premier League? Past two fullbacks who tried for the academy have been as good as we have in terms of senior players, so he can't be that bad.
I know nothing about him at all. Obviously, I was aware that he played very well against Wickham, which was not the game that I watched live. I watched the Ipswich game. But what was telling was that he wasn't, in spite of how well he played, he wasn't included against Brentford, which I thought was key. And it just showed that Moyes, when he had Masuaku and Cresswell back, those were his first two choices. So that tells me nothing about Longello, but it tells me everything about how Moyes is viewing his left back situation, and he is not part of the plans. Basically,
yeah, I don't know much about him. I never heard of him until the summer. In all honesty, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I knew loads about him. Never heard of him. Although I've seen the highlights of the under 23 game the other day when he's whizzing up and down the wing doing 1-2s and stuff. So, yeah, he looked really, really good. I think he got a couple of assists and stuff as well, and some of them were like solos to get the assist as well. So he looks really athletic, but I don't know. It's very difficult to judge. You get what you're given from the club, and they're not going to show you him making a howler 20 yards out from goal, are they? So I don't know. Dave Goodyear. Is Josh Cullen going to get more minutes instead of Mark Noble now he's getting on, and even more so should Rice be sold? Will we rely solely on him to fill the void left behind rather than getting a replacement?
Nice, thank you, Dave. Well done. Because I didn't do, as I was a busy boy, I didn't do the review against Bournemouth, so I've not spoken about Josh Cullen. I was really very impressed when he came on actually, and I didn't like what I'd seen prior to that. So I didn't think the midfield was functioning particularly well. Obviously, Souček was out, Rice was out. I didn't think it functioned well. I do think when he came on, you won't go back and watch it, but if you were to, you'd see initially he was taking up the same positions as Mark Noble. They're almost getting in each other's way, which you can understand because they are quite similar type players. But he looked, I know it was against a second string Bournemouth and all the rest of it, but you've got to remember most of the rest of our team really struggled against him. I thought Cullen looked good, and I think look, I think he doesn't provide enough goals and stuff like that to be a top level player in terms of he's not going to be a Steven Gerrard or something like that. But actually, that's fine because we've got one of those in midfield in Souček who looks like he's going to score a top level amount of goals. Actually, in terms of passing the ball, ticking it over, playing it short, playing it long, passing, moving, all that sort of stuff, we could save ourselves a lot of bother by incorporating him. And actually, not only do I want him to be given a squad, well, he's got a squad number, I saw him the other day, but not only do I want him to be involved, I want him to be on the bench all the time. I would almost like him to be our first go-to guy to come off the bench when whatever, Souček's tired or Rice is tired or whatever the case may be. I actually want him involved. I want him to play 20 odd games at least off the bench for us this season and start some games as well. I really do. I'm Dave. I'm glad he brought it up because I'd forgotten to talk about it.
I've been a bit naughty this summer, Gonzo. I've watched 0 friendlies.
Okay.
None. I didn't watch any of them. I've not watched anything, so I've seen barely. I've seen highlights. That's it. So I'm going to go by Cullen from what I've seen in previous years. This is about the 4th or 5th summer in a row now. I'm thinking he's got to get a chance this season. But it's running out now, though, isn't it? He's a neat and tidy footballer, and I think sometimes you need that a little bit. You need someone to come on. When you're winning, you can bring him on to help recycle the ball. If you're losing, you can get him on to try and shift the ball faster and move it forward a little bit. Because he is quite a, for what I've seen, limited, not the pre-season, but prior at Charlton and that. He does get his head up and try and move the ball forward and stuff, and that's what you need sometimes. It's okay to do the simple pass, just give it to Bowen and let Bowen do the rest, but sometimes I think we struggle to get it to Bowen. So we can get someone in that does the simple bit, then that's all we need, really.
He came off the bench and got 2 assists, and good quality assists as well. Look very bright.
He's a really cheap squad player to have around as well. His wages are nothing for a Premier League. I don't know what he's on, 20 grand a week, 30 at the most. He's on nothing.
Probably less than you, Geo. Probably less than you.
He's not on very much anyway. Last question for tonight, because we're just having a little short one. Scott Sewell. Scott's putting a fiver as well into Super Chat. Thank you, Scott. Scott says, why do you think we are unable to sign players like Wilson and Fraser? Do you think if we got them that would soften the blow of Grady?
Fraser, I don't know why we wouldn't sign Fraser. I've got to say, I really don't. I do. But forgetting position, we've cleared up so many wages. We should just be able to get that guy on. There's so over the past 2 seasons, Chicharito and Perez and Sanchez and Zabaleta and so on, loads and loads of wages. There's no reason. So why have we not gone and got Fraser? I don't know. In fact, bearing in mind we got rid of Diangana, maybe it's exactly who we should have gone and got. Because you could have then replaced Diangana for free and you get the 80 million. That, in many respects, I wouldn't have liked it done, but it would have made more sense. Callum Wilson, I've got to be perfectly honest with you, and I've not just saying this now. I've formulated this opinion. If you ever listen to my reviews when we do against Bournemouth, this is when he hasn't scored for us. But I remember going down there, was it last season or season before, and I'm really watching Callum Wilson in the flesh. Just quite close to the action against Bournemouth, and I wasn't overly impressed. I think he's quite one-dimensional, actually, Callum Wilson, and he's completely injury-prone. So I will understand why we wouldn't go for Callum Wilson. So it's not not going for Callum Wilson that's annoyed me. It's the fact that we haven't gone for anyone else. I think that we don't seem to be going for anyone, and that's really the thing. So what actually happens is Callum Wilson basically becomes almost a pin-up boy for what we're not doing, if you know what I mean. Yeah,
I completely agree with that. I'm not fussed about losing out on Fraser either on a free. I think he's a good Premier League attacking midfielder / winger, but that's all. I don't think he's amazing. I think he would do a decent enough job for us. I'd probably prefer Antonio over him. I'd prefer Bowen over him. So I'd prefer Diangana over him just because Diangana's then got potential, whereas Fraser's probably had his best season already. I'd be surprised if he goes on to have a better season than what he had at Bournemouth the season before last. He might do, but I think there's a reason he went to Newcastle and not even a Spurs or an Arsenal or something as a sub player. But he didn't even get that opportunity. He was allowed to go there. He's the equivalent of a Shaqiri. I think Shaqiri ballsed up by going to Liverpool. It's just not worked for him at Anfield. He just wasn't quite good enough to even be a sub player for Liverpool. I think Ryan Fraser's that sort of ilk. I think Ryan Fraser was only appealing because he was free. If he wasn't free, nobody would want him.
Sure.
But he won't be free, and I'm not sticking up for the board of that. Ryan Fraser will have bagged himself a couple of £1 million out of that transfer. He would not have gone there. He's not going to be on cheap wages. He would not have had no sign. He will have got a couple of £1 million signed on fee and whatnot, just like Jeff Hendrick did when he went to Newcastle. As for Callum Wilson, I agree with you. It's a symbol of what it is, and that is getting a striker in, paying top dollar for a striker. Have you seen Ollie Watkins' price today, by the way? He's off to Villa.
Yeah.
28 million rising to 33. That makes Dingana's thing look even worse, because we got told through that thing, 18 million is really good for an unproven player. 33 million Brentford again. Brentford have now got sold their record sale for Brentford's higher than that of West Ham. Brentford have never been in the Premier League. That just sums up how god awful we are at negotiating and scouting and all of it. It just sums it up. That
and I'll tell you what, I bet they know exactly who they're signing.
They've already got him.
Oh, have they? All right. Well, they go. They definitely know exactly
they
who
signed
they're replacing with. Then, if they've already.
I don't know how. I think that's how you pronounce it. They signed that Tony of Peterborough for.
So, well, you probably pronounce it Tony.
Well, it's Toney. I think that's how you spell it. But 10 million from Peterborough. He's already there. He's already at the club, and now they resell Watkins for 28 million. So they're 18 million pounds up, and they've replaced him. Imagine knowing what you're doing in the transfer market. Could you imagine that? But I just thought it just sums up West Ham that Brentford now have a higher transfer record sale than what we do. They've never been in the Premier League. It's just bonkers. Anyway, Gonzo, shall we wrap it up there?
We'll wrap it up there.
Anyway, thank you for joining us on this extra cup of tea edition where we took the questions that we never got to. Sorry we never got a chance to get to the live chat, but we're strict on time tonight. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Scout you around here. Myself and Gonzo will catch up with you very, very soon. Got the Newcastle preview coming this week. Don't miss it. Should be a good one.